Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. We're thrilled to have you all join us today for what promises to be an insightful and engaging event. We'll be starting shortly, so please ensure your audio and video settings are working correctly. We appreciate your patience as we allow everyone to get settled in.
May mag-isipsyon ng mahigit sanglilang makatawag ng puso na servisyo sa kinabukasan. Itibayan ang bayani.
Faculty members, and participants. On behalf of the organizing committee, I extend a warm welcome and we are delighted to have you all in our webinar titled Participatory Governance Avenues to Inform the Government of the People's Sentiments. I am Ariana Liovin, your host for today. To formally begin our proceedings, let us first invoke divine guidance. May I request everyone to observe a moment of silence for our opening prayer, followed by the singing of the Philippine national anthem.
Leadership is not about titles. It is about impact, influence, and inspiration. At the College of Social Sciences and Philosophy of BCOL University, the Leadership Legacy Program was born out of a vision to build bridges of partnership, cultivate transformative leaders, and create a ripple effect for peace and development in society.
Paki-thumbs up naman kung naririnig ako. Okay. So, Diyos marhay na aga. Isang makabuluhang umaga sa inyong lahat. Ang aking taos-pusong paggalang sa ating Bicol University President, Dr. Babyboy Benjamin D. Nebres III, sa ating Direktor ng Jesse M. Robredo Institute of Governance and Development, BUJMRIGD, Dr. Noemi Lobrigo Ibo, sa faculty and staff ng BUJMRIGD, sa ating mga partner organization, sa mga espesyal at hinahangan nating mga panauhing tagapagsalita. Mamaya ipapakilala po sila sa ating. Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Naalala ko nang minsan kong tanungin ang aking klase, may napapansin ba kayong mga irregularities o irregularidad sa mga proyekto ng gobyerno sa inyong barangay, munisipyo o lungsod? Biglang napuno ng ingay ang silid-alaran. Halos lahat gustong magsalita. Isa sa kanila ang nagsabi at hanggang ngayon tumatak sa aking isipan ang kanyang kwento. Sabi niya, "Sir, taga Pilar Sorsogon po ako. Simula grade 7 pa lang, sa Daraga National High School na po ako nag-aaral. Hanggang ngayon, ako ay nasa kolehiyo na ng Bicol University. Halos 10 taon akong pabalik-balik sa biyaheng mula Pilar hanggang Daraga, gamit ang iisang kalsada. Pero sa loob ng 10 taon na iyon, hindi ko pa naranasan dumaan doon na walang road reblocking o pagkukumpuni ng daan." Tinanong ko siya, "Ipinagbigay alam mo ba to sa iyong opisyal, sa opisyal ng gobyerno? Sa kapitan nyo, sa kagawad, o sa SK chairman nyo?" Biglang tumahimik ang klase. Naalala ko tuloy ang sinabi ni Albert Einstein, "Silence equals complicity." Tandaan natin to. Kapag tayo'y nananatiling tahimik, naging bahagi tayo ng katiwalian. Kanino tayo mananagot? Una, sa kalikasan. Ang pagbaha at pagguho ng lupa ay hindi lamang dulot ng global warming, kundi minsan ay bunga rin ng mga proyektong pampamahalaan na hindi dumaan sa tamang konsultasyon sa mga komunidad na pagtatayuan nito. Pangalawa, sa susunod na henerasyon, darating ang panahon na tatanungin nila tayo, "Ano ang ginawa mo para matigil ang ganitong gawain?" Bago ang seminar na ito, ang mga mag-aaral sa kursong Ethics and Accountability in Public Service ay inatasan kong magdokumento ng isang proyektong pampamahalaan na may nakitang irregularidad. Ngayon, sa tulong ng ating mga panauhing tagapagsalita, malalaman natin kung paano matutukoy kung may red flag ba sa isang proyekto ng gobyerno. Kung ito ba ay ghost project o may kakulangan sa pagpapatupad. Kanino ba ito dapat idulog? Tama na, makinig, magtanong, at makisangkot sa webinar na ito. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pagdalo. Diyos marhay na alda.
Talaga ang maisasagot ng ating mga guest speaker. So at this moment, I know that we're all excited. So let's brace ourselves as Mr. Leonard Bulawan introduced our first guest speaker. Leonard, please take it away.
And a dedicated educator for over 2 decades. Currently, he serves as a college administration of San Jose Community College, guiding young minds with integrity and passion. He also served as former president of Tobacco College, former dean of the College of Business Management and Accountancy at UST Legazpi, and is an active faculty member in various academic institutions. At present, he continues to pursue excellence, taking his PhD in Public Administration at Bicol University, while serving as president of the Association of Local Colleges and Universities in Bicol. He also made the country he also made the country proud as past national president of PICPA and former board director of CAPA and AFA. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest speaker, a true icon of excellence in education and accountancy, attorney.
Okay.
Recording in progress.
Audible ba ako? Okay na ba?
Yes po, sir.
Okay, so pasensya na hindi ko makita sa screen yung mukha ko presentation. So pwede na pong i-share yung yung PowerPoint presentation. Pa-share na po ng
Po, sir.
Yun, medyo brown out sa amin na timing na brown out dito sa First District. Okay. Hindi ko po makita yung screen sa screen.
Na po, sir.
Siguro you can share the PowerPoint presentation directly na lang siguro. Share screen.
Hindi mo siya kita.
Yun. Okay, so my topic is about corruption in government. So a citizen's guide to spotting irregularities in the barangay, municipality, or city level. So as much as medyo mahirap ma-determine, but at least through this presentation, we can help you guide yung mga red flags, yung mga indicia or mga signs that there are possible irregularities or corrupt activities in your respective local government units. Okay, so next slide please. Next slide po. So ngayon we will ano natin, alamin muna natin kung ano ba ang ano natin, ang present status. So sa ngayon, ang Pilipinas ang ikatlo sa within Southeast Asian region, dito sa Southeast Asia, pangatlo tayo sa pinaka-corrupt. So according to the Transparency International, ito yung international organization na nagde-determine on how corrupt or how clean, how transparent the government is. So out of 100, the Philippines only got a score of 33 and is considered a highly corrupt government. So hindi naman tayo nagtataka kasi nakikita natin sa news, nakikita natin araw-araw na lang parami ng parami yung mga corrupt activities na na-uncover, nagsimula lang sa flood control, ngayon meron ng mga ghost hospital, meron ng mga farm to market road. So parang sabihin natin, nasa kawawang sitwasyon ngayon ng Pilipinas. So out of 180 countries, pang 114 tayo, nasa bottom part ng mga matitinong gobyerno. So the score of 33 was a slight drop from the score of 34 received in 2023. So mas lalo pa tayong bumaba. So the data suggests that the perceived level of public sector corruption sa Philippines ay patuloy na bumababa ang tiwala ng mga tao sa gobyerno in terms of transparency and accountability. So that's the sad reality now. Yung mga view sa atin, the public perception of our government. So next slide please. So yan po ang yan yung natin, yan yung parang graph of transparency. Nung 2014 nasa 38 pa tayo. Ayun, patuloy na bumababa yung rating natin. So kung makikita nyo, 2014, that is nasa kalagitnaan niya ng time ni President Duterte. Tapos padaos-dos yung natin, yung level of transparency, yung level of public perception with regards to the government's effort to curb corruption. So hopefully ang lagi naman tayong may pag-asa, and that's the good thing about the Philippines because after 6 years we are given the opportunity to elect new leaders with the hope or with the expectation that these new sets of leader will be the one who will carry out to the promised land. But siguro hanggang ngayon patuloy pa lang tayong umaasa, and we are not really reaping the rewards of having the good government that we truly deserve. So yan po ang natin. So for the past 10 years. Okay, so next slide. The Philippine Corruption Perception Index and Data Transparency shows a general decline. So kung makikita naman natin po sa nagde-decline talaga, and we cannot see any positive improvement in the near future. So sa ngayon, kaliwat kanang ang investigasyon, 78 days has passed since the investigation on the flood control started. Still no one was incarcerated. Wala pang nakukulong ni isa, lahat na lang investigasyon. And that frustrates so many person. Ako po na nag-attend ako doon sa Trillion Peso March. I personally attended there para siguro in my own little way may parating ko rin sa government yung disgust on how the government addresses the corruption problem that are rampant or systematic. Naging na siyang part ng culture ng government services. So, yan po ang natin. That's the dim picture that is presented by this Corruption Perception Index. So, next slide. Next slide po. Philippine Corruption. Okay. So, agencies. Masyadong madilim. Pwede natin pong i-adjust siya sa hindi ko mabasa. Hindi ko dala yung ko. Hindi ko dala yung original ko. Pwede pong ipaputi yung ano, yung font color. Kasi ito, according to the surveys, ito yung mga frequently cited na mga government agencies that are engaged, that are allegedly engaged in corruption activities. Makipano na lang po siguro, anyan. Based on the various reports, based ito sa mga surveys conducted, nagkakaroon ng mga corrupt activities, number one, dahil sa mga transactions that involving money, permits, or enforcement. So kapag meron ng involved na pera, merong hinihinging mga permits, merong mga ini-enforce na enforcement, ito yung mga agencies that are prone to corrupt activities. Dahil may hiningi sa kanilang pabor yung kanilang clientele, yung kanilang employees. Okay, so next slide. So number one na piniperceive ng public na one of the most corrupt agency is the PNP and the military. So it is cited as one of the most corrupt institution in the country. Andito yung lagay system. Halimbawa, nahuli ka ng walang lisensya, nahuli ka ng violation ng traffic rules. So, nandyan yung mga lagay system. Hindi nakakasuhan basta merong nailagay. That's the perception of the public that PNP and the military are one of the most corrupt agencies. Nandyan yung mga misuse of funds. This is maybe because may mga past events na noon na involved ang AFP, ang military sa ganitong mga kalalaking transaction. So remember the chief controller doon sa AFP, si General Garcia, na nag-invest siya ng military funds worth around 300 million pesos. And he was convicted with that. Na-convict siya doon ng plunder, and I think he served his sentence. Na-serve naman yung kanyang sentence, and he was able, the amount that was invested was recovered. So ito po yung first cited na government agency that are being viewed as one of the most corrupt agency. Next. Okay po, next slide. Ito yung mga Revenue and Customs Agency. Dati itong nagtatap before this flood control issue. Ang pinaka-corrupt na agency according to public perception is the Bureau of Customs and the BIR. Sa Bureau of Internal Revenue, itong nagkokolekta ng ating buwis. Nandyan yung mga lagayan, nandyan yung mga sabihin natin for the boys. I've been a practicing CPA also. I usually encounter this kind of people. And so far, meron ng mga nahuli, meron ng mga naimbestigahan, and meron ng nakulong on this. But the public perception is still there that the BIR is one of the most cited, most corrupt agency. And also the Bureau of Customs. Ang Bureau of Customs, sila ang in charge sa importation and exportation. So, the public perception also make them one of the most corrupt kasi ang dami pa rin na mga smuggled items na nakakalusot sa kanila. When we say smuggled items, ito yung mga import na hindi nagbayad ng tamang buwis. Nakalabas sa custody ng Bureau of Customs na hindi binayaran yung tamang tariff and import duties. So, nandyan, etong dalawang to, ito ang money-making machine ng buong gobyerno natin. Bulk of the government revenue are collected by the Bureau of Customs and the Bureau of Internal Revenue. Okay, next po tayo. Next slide. So DPWH, ang pinaka-controversial na agency ngayon. Na ang public perception laging substandard ang yung mga project, merong ghost projects, merong bribery, kickbacks, may collusion and procurement, Yung mga sinasabing moro-moro na bidding, kunyari nag-bidding, meron ng preferred na contractor na nanalo. So sa ngayon, the DPWH is in the ito ang nasa kamalayan ngayon, and it's in the most corrupt agency as of today. Okay, next. Ayan, LGUs. LGUs then are being viewed as one of the most agencies that has highest number of corruption-related yung mga corruption-related activities. Marami po sa mga mayors, marami sa mga governors, local government officials may pending na kaso sa Office of the Ombudsman. Marami tayong mayors, marami tayong governors, vice mayors na merong mga kaso sa regular court. No, I've been attending cases and I am personally aware of who are those governors and mayors and vice mayors na merong mga pending cases of violation of Graft and Corrupt Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act because of the misuse of local funds. So ayan po LGUs. So next. Next po. House of Representatives and Senate, ayan, iskandal yung mga pork barrel funds. Dati ang tawag niyan is pork barrel funds. Nagiyan na Priority Development Fund. Sabi ng Supreme Court, bawal ang pork barrel, illegal yan. Congressman kayo, ang gawin niyo lang, gumawa kayo ng batas. Huwag na kayong makialam sa pondo, nagpagpapagawa ng mga infra project. It was already decided by the Supreme Court na illegal ang pork barrel. So anong ginawa ng ating mga congressman, ng mga senador? Pinalitan yung pangalan. Ginawa nilang Priority Development Fund or the PDF nung time ni Pinoy. Na-declare again ang Supreme Court na illegal yon. It is just a pork barrel fund. Binago lang yung pangalan, but the nature of the fund disbursement is still similar to those pork barrel fund in the past. So hindi na tinanggal yung pork barrel, tinanggap yung PDF. Ang pangalan naman ngayon is congressional insertion. That congressional insertion is by any means similar to the previously declared unconstitutional na pork barrel and priority development fund. So masyado lang talagang creative ang ating mambabatas in developing new names but similar meaning. So ngayon, may pending case na naman ang congressional insertion last 2025, and the latest news for that is the Supreme Court has already issued summons to the President, to the Executive Secretary, to the Senate President, and to the Speaker of the House of Representatives to answer the complaint of those groups questioning those congressional insertion during the 2025 annual budget. So ngayon etong natin, pinabago lang yung pangalan, but the net effect is the same. That is the pork barrel of the past, which the Supreme Court has repeatedly stated that it is unconstitutional. So kaya po yan, isa rin ang agency, ang House of Representatives sa Senate, sa tingin ng mga tao, ang one of the most corrupt agencies in our government. Okay, next. Next slide. So types of corruption in the government encountered. Dalawang klase maraming klase ang corruption sa gobyerno. Maraming klase, but we can just generalize it. Ang pinaka-common, yung bribe solicitation. Yung public and businessmen na nagsusolicit for grease money to speed up transaction, obtain permits and avoid penalties. Ito yung tinatawag na padulas. Ito yung tinatawag na padulas. Bribery can be done. Kung halimbawa meron akong project sa government, I want my permit to be immediately released kahit hindi pa complied. Gusto kong makakuha ng quarry permit. Hindi naman ako nagka-comply, wala akong environmental clearance certificate. Diyan pumapasok yung bribery. At a certain amount, i-issue ako ng permit even without complying strictly with the process. This is the most rampant type of corruption in the government. So meron din na tinatawag na ang bribe solicitation, it doesn't mean na meron akong actual project ngayon. Bribery, graft and corrupt practices would also mean wala pa akong project but in the future, posible akong magkaroon ng project sa government. Kaya nga pinagbabawal sa Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act na maging campaign contributor ang isang kontraktor. Bawal sa isang kontraktor na mag-campaign contributor sa isang politiko. Just like what happened to Senate President Chis Escudero. Nalaman ngayon ng bibi, tubig. Nalaman ngayon ng COMELEC na meron palang campaign contribution coming from contractor si Senate President Chis Escudero. Kaya meron siya ngayon na complaint, meron siya ngayon na kaso sa COMELEC because that is not allowed in an Omnibus Election Code. Pinagbabawal yan because that is one of the Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. Bakit ka nagbibigay ng pera sa isang politiko when in fact pag nanalo yan, pwede yan pwedeng maapektuhan ng kanyang decision making para para mabigyan ka ng favor. So ganyan yung bribery. It is more on money matters or even position. So gusto mong maupo, halimbawa ako gusto kong ma-promote sa position na ito, I am willing to give money to the appointing officer for him to appoint me on that position that I want. That is bribery and that is form of corruption. The grand corruption, it is a large-scale theft of public fund through overpricing, fraudulent procurement, or embezzlement. Ito yung mga overpricing, ito yung mga ghost projects, ito yung mga substandard project. That is grand corruption, that is large-scale theft. Pagnanakaw ng pondo ng gobyerno. Patronage and nepotism, yung the appointment of political allies over qualified professional which weaken international integrity. Ina-appoint yung mga kamag-anak, kapatid, kapamilya, or kapartido. That is also one of corruption. Nepotism and political patronage. Marami naman dyan na qualified, ang in-appoint yung kaibigan or kakilala. So that is type of corruption in the Philippines. Okay, next slide. Okay. So to stop corruption, why do we need to stop corruption? It destroys the public trust. It will cripple the economy and disproportionately harm the poorest and most vulnerable citizen. Corruption ang pinakaugat ng paghihirap sa Pilipinas. Because it destroys public trust. Ngayon, wala na tayong tiwala sa ating gobyerno. Nagkaroon ng bagyo sa Masbate, nagkaroon ng lindol sa Davao and Cebu, ni isang foreign donation walang dumating. Ni isang mga foreign grant walang dumating. While in the past, kapag may ganitong kalamidad, kapag may ganitong nag-uunahan ang mga bansa na magpadala ng financial assistance and foreign assistance sa Pilipinas para ma-address yung problema natin on how to recover from calamities. Sa ngayon kung makikita nyo, wala nang ibang bansa na nagbibigay ng foreign aid sa atin. Bakit? Walang tiwala sa ating gobyerno. Even napabalita noon na yung South Korea, kinancel na yung kanyang loan agreement with the government, with the Republic of the Philippines. The reason for that is natatakot si South Korea na baka daw yung perang ipapautang nila mapunta lang sa bulsa ng mga politiko. So that will cripple the economy. We are very much reliant on the help of the foreign country. Ang dami nating utang. At ang utang natin nire-renew lang yan. So kapag wala nang magpapautang sa atin, maapektuhan talaga yung growth natin as a nation. Okay? So it is for the public abuse of public office for private gain. So erosion of trust and confidence. Okay, next na po tayo. It destroys the public trust. Ayan, wala na tayong tiwala kahit mga local donors. Merong alam ko sa Masbate, Merong mga fund drive ng mga organization ng ano, sila na mismo ang nagbibigay, hindi na pinapadaan sa mga local government. Okay? Kahit mga international donors, yung mga international donors na yon, sila na mismo ang pumupunta sa Pilipinas, hindi na pinapadaan sa kahit sinong government officials because of the distrust in the government officials. It weakens the rule of law. Corruption weakens the rule of law. Ayun ang sinasabi natin. Bakit wala pang nakukulong hanggang ngayon? So, ang impression natin yan is, okay lang na mangurakot. Okay lang na mangurakot. Pag nakurakot ka, hindi ka naman makukulong. Iimbestigahan ka lang naman kung ilang buwan. Punta ka ng Amerika. Kunyari, may sakit. So, hindi ka na babalik ka lang dito sa Pilipinas after some time na medyo meron naman na natabunan na yung issue. It weakens the rule of law. Unlike in other country, kapag corruption, pinaparesign yan agad. Iniimbestigahan pa lang, pinaparesign na agad, finifreeze na ang kanyang mga assets, pinifreeze ng kanyang mga bank account. Sa atin ngayon, iniimbestigahan, ayun, gagawin pang state witness. So, kaya walang masyadong nagtitiwala na sa batas ng Pilipinas. Because yung sinasabi nga sa parang yung batas natin ay ginagawang katatawanan na lang ng mga nasa kapangyarihan. So this is the harsh reality in our country now. It undermines democracy. So corruption practices like vote buying, illicit campaign for financing, it undermines democracy. Nakikita nyo ngayon, meron nang nagkukol na i-boycott, wag nang magbayad ng buwis, magkaroon ng tax holiday, i-boycott ang i-boycott ang gobyerno, o magkaroon ng people power. These public sentiments corrodes the democracy. Yung ating democratic system, ang democratic system natin rule of law. Pero kapag may people power, na may panawagan ng people power, may panawagan ng patalsikin these are extra constitutional. Wala na to sa constitution. So, etong mga action na ito, labag na actually ito sa Constitution. Kapag meron ng ganung mga panawagan ng mass boycott or tax holiday or kung ano pa man yan, hindi na to ang nakakatakot na tong sitwasyon because that is no longer the proper way on how a democratic society works. Okay? So next. Corruption acts as a massive and inefficient economy. Ayan, waste public money. Magayon pa sa tinampo, kakaluto na naman. Tapos 2 months pa sa tinampo, kalsada, may crack na. Nagpagawa ng public school, nagpagawa ng public school building. Hindi naman maanoan kasi walang occupancy permit kasi no, it discourages investment. Sino bang mag-invest sa atin dito kung lahat na lang ng merong corruption? I remember one of our client, I think it was in 2015, we have a client, it is a mining company. Dyan sa Rapu-Rapu, kliyente namin yon, the Rapu-Rapu Mining Company. Kami yung nag-handle ng audit ng kanilang financial statement for 3 years. So 3 taon kami ang auditor niya ng Rapu-Rapu Processing Incorporated and yung Rapu-Rapu Mining. It was owned by Korean nationals. So it is a Korean firm. Tapos nagsara na sila sa Rapu-Rapu. Ang kanilang na-exploit pa lang doon, yung kanilang grant sa kanila na mining site is they only mine 30% of what has been allotted to them na parang mining area. They still have 70% na pwedeng minahin. Tinanong namin yung heads doon, why are you closing your investment, your mining activities here in the Philippines? Ano bang sagot ni Korean? Your government is so corrupt. They are asking a certain percentage from our extraction. So certain percentage that is over and above the taxes that we are paying in your country. So ayun, lumayas the Rapu-Rapu Mining. So, it discourages investment. So ngayon, wala kayong mababalitaan ng mga foreign direct investment na pumapasok ngayon sa Pilipinas. Ando na sila sa Vietnam, ando na sila sa Indonesia. So, the Vietnam has already surpassed the Philippines in terms of economic growth and development. It distorts priority. So, public official chose large, complex, etc. Yung mga unnecessary infrastructure. Pumunta kayo sa Daraga, meron dyan na flyover na wala namang dumadaan. Okay? Maraming mga bridges na hindi tapos, maraming mga kalsada na hindi tapos, na nasasayang lang dahil hindi naman to dapat priority. Ang kailangan yung mga tulay na madaanan ng mga eskwelahan, ang pinagawa, kalsada sa mga bundok na sinong gagamit nun. So, kaya ito ang effect ng corrupt activities. Okay, next. Next slide. Degraded public service. So ayan, funds are stolen from essential services like healthcare and education. Ang educational system natin hindi maayos-ayos. I am the college administrator in the local college. We are doing everything para ma-increase ang quality of education even on a community level.
So na ito mo ko kabago.
Even in a community level setting. So ano bang problema namin? Yung mga first year namin, hindi marunong magbasa. Meron kaming first year student, mahina ang mga reading comprehension. Even the vocabulary, even the spelling. Ang hirap mag-incorporate or na kailangan mag-adjust ng college education because the basic education was neglected. So hindi prepared yung mga estudyante ng basic na graduate ng senior high school para sa college education level. So we have again to adjust. So kaya hindi na pa-prioritize yung healthcare natin, universal healthcare program ng gobyerno. Dapat walang billing sa lahat ng hospital. Especially sa mga government hospital, lahat dapat diyan libre ang gamot, libre lahat ng serbisyo. Wala dapat diyan nasisingilin ang hospital sa mga pasyente nila. But the reality is, ang sinasagot lang ng PhilHealth, up to 10,000, 20,000 lang. So this can lead to shortage of life-saving medicine, poorly built in unsafe school, and lack of proper equipment. So increase inequality. Yung mayaman, mas ladong yung mayaman, yung mahirap, mas ladong humihirap. And creation of dangerous infrastructure. Nakakatakot ang infrastructure sa atin dahil karamihan, if not all, are substandard. Konting lindol or wala pang ang lindol, dinaanan lang ng heavy ng mga truck. Ayun, natumba na. So because of this defective infrastructure, it poses a direct threat to the public. Okay, next slide. The common indicators of corruption in government are observed throughout. Paano natin malalaman na may corruption ang isang government agency? Number one, pakipalit ng white font color. Medyo madilim.
Edit niya.
Yan, specific behavior and transaction evidence. So, paano natin malalaman yung indicator na may corruption sa government? Number one, may specific behavior and transaction. Makikita nyo sa mga tao. And also systemic institutional weaknesses or meron tayong mga red flags. Ito yung mga signs and symptoms of corrupt activities. Okay, next slide. Ayan, direct transactional indicators, tumatanggap ng lagay. Ayan, yung public official nagsusulisit, meron nga humingi, 30%, 20%, ayan, sigurado na yan, may corruption yan. May grand corruption, companies or individuals pay large irregular kickbacks to official with lucrative government contract. Yung lagayan system, ang pinagkaiba ng bribery, may cooperation, ang extortion, pangingikil. The customer, the public is against the corruption, kaya lang may threat. may threat coming from the government official na bibigyan ka ng multa para kung ano man na ibablock yung application mo para mapilitan kang magbayad. Sasabihin na i-delay yung gusto mo ma-process ng madali ang proseso mo, o eto magbigay ka. So kapag merong bribery, kapag tumatanggap ng SUL ang isang agency, kapag tumatanggap ng lagay, kapag nag-extort, obviously, yung agency na yan is engaged in corrupt activities. These are obvious, okay? So next. Next slide. So direct misappropriation or theft of public fund, may nawalang pondo, may mga ghost project, so intentional deception to gain financial advantage. Ayan, so yung sa procurement, in overprice. Official making a decision for the benefit of their own private business, nagpagawa ng kalsada para sa kanyang private resort. So that's the obvious corrupt activities of a certain government agency or government official. Okay, next. So these are institutional indicators or the red flag. Ito yung mga sabi natin pasimpleng mga na hindi halata yung kanilang corrupt activities. Number 1. Sige po, next slide. Ayan. Government contract are frequently awarded to a single entity. Laging-lagi na lang isang contractor ang nabibigyan ng award. So halimbawa, in a local government community, local government unit, halimbawa province, lahat na lang ng project ng probinsya, isa o dalawang contractor lang ang nananalo. Meron parang tinatawag na preferred or priority contractor. Magtaka ka na. Bakit lagi at lagi na yun? Imposible naman na walang ibang contractor. So that is red flag na may corruption. So that is red flag. Halimbawa, ito yung tinatawag sa action natin na parang pet contractor, paboritong contractor. Halimbawa, si Mayor, every time may pa-project, mapabuilding man yan, drainage, kung ano man yan na infrastructure, laging-lagi si contractor A ang nananalo. Yung parang ang malamang ang bidding yan moro-moro lang, wala na talaga yan na actual competitive bidding. And that is one of the red flag in the So ngayon ang nangyari ang natin sa Pilipinas? In-expose mismo ni President Ferdinand Marcos na ang flood control project ang nakakuha ng halos karamihan sa mga flood control project are those 15 contractors all over the Philippines. Yan talaga. Wala yan na. Yan ang isang indication that is the red flag that there is corrupt activities in that particular agency. Kung sa barangay level naman, every time may patrabaho si Kap, iyo ang merong laging-lagi na merong contractor na nabibigyan ng award ng mga patrabaho sa barangay, yan ang kaduda-duda. Yan ang red flag na merong corrupt activities si Kapitan. Okay. Second, contractor's qualification. Na na yung contractor na blacklist na. Ang capitalization niya is only 5 million, nakakuha ng kontrata ng 200 million. Because as we know, ang contractor, sila muna ang gagastos. So halimbawa akong contractor, I was awarded a contract worth 100 million. Ako muna ang gagastos niyan. Pag meron na akong program, pag meron na akong progress report, let's say I already finished 25% of the project, saka lang ako pwede mag-bill. So in the meantime, it is the constructor who will fund the activity, the infrastructure project. So kailangan yung contractor may capacity. So if the contractor has only paid up capital of 2 million pesos and he was able to get a 50 million contract, saan yan kukuha ng panggastos? Saan yan kukuha ng pera para pang-advance ng kanyang project? Yan ang isang red flag na meron niya nakatiwalian na nangyayari dyan. Okay? Baka dami lang yan na kontraktor. Okay? So yan. yung projected cost, yung mga significantly higher. Sabi ni Mayor Benji Magalong, yung cat's eye, ang regular price is only 1,000 plus. Ang nasa project work, yung program of works, ang isang cat's eye umaabot ng 11,000. Napakamahal naman. So kapag masyadong bloated ang price ng isang specific project or specific material, yan ang red flag na may corrupt activities diyan. So but sa actual naman, talaga minsan medyo may kamahalan talaga ang prices sa bids and awards sa pag naglalagay doon sa bidding documents kasi number one, kino-consider yan yung tax. Yung tax na ipapatong diyan, sinasabay niya yan tapos yung yung usually halimbawa ako ang bidder, usually nababayaran ang contractor medyo matagal. It takes around 3 months, 6 months or even a year. So merong yung time value of money kino-consider din doon. So kaya meron talagang instances na medyo mahal ang presyo sa bid documents kesa sa present market value. Pero kung masyado naman na mahal, yan ang red flag na may corrupt activities diyan. Ayun, public finance document are difficult to access, complex, etc. The more na may tinatago sa isang document, ayaw ipa-access sa public, medyo delikado ang integrity niyan. Medyo posible na meron ginagawang magic or hocus pocus. Ito ngayon ang question sa ICI, yung create na mag-investigate sa corruption in infrastructure. I forgot the name of that ICI headed by yung dati kay Magalong na ang request sa kanila is sa live sa social media ang investigation, yung So sabi ng ICI, magtiwala daw ang mga tao sa kanila because they are doing their job. Yan ang problema nga eh. The more difficult to access the documentation, the more na confidential ang isang process, the bigger the red flag that there is corrupt activities there. Bakit tinatago? Kaya nga ngayon, maganda yung yung first project ni newly appointed ombudsman na ilabas ang SALN. I-publicize, i-open to public ang SALN. So sa ngayon, si Bam Aquino naman, Senator Bam Aquino, gusto niya ilagay sa blockchain ang national budget para matrace talaga kung saan ginagamit yung pera. So, the more transparent the use of fund is, the better for the people. The more confidential the transaction is, maraming tinatago, maraming pinag-uusapan on a closed-door meeting, that is red flag of possible corrupt activities. Okay, next. Next po na Okay. So administrative and political red flag, weak rule of law. Yung investigation, wala namang napoprosecute, wala namang na-convict. Delikado talaga yan. Katulad ng sistema natin. Ang daming investigasyon, ang daming prosecution, wala namang nakukulong, wala namang nakoconvict. Or kung na-convict man, napapardon. So ngayon, may culture of impunity. Okay lang gumawa ng masama. Later on naman, mapapalaya lang naman. Matatabunan naman yan. Wala na. The money remains to them. The money remains in their possession. They are enjoying, they are laughing to the bank. Wala naman sa kanilang nakulong. Wala naman na prosecute. Wala namang nabawian ng property. That is the weak rule of law kapag corrupt ang isang bansa. Nepotism and cronyism, key position the government are filled based on political or personal collection. Sabi ng joke, nakagraduate, cum laude, pumasa sa civil service, tapos nung nag-apply, ang hiningi, backer. So hindi rin natanggap sa because kailangan ng backer. That is a sign of graft and corrupt practices, cronyism and nepotism. Mga kapatid, mga kamag-anak, ang nasa pwesto. And we see that so many times. We see that all over in the Philippine government. Na ang mga nakaupo, kapatid, inappoint yung kapatid, inappoint yung kamag-anak, magkapatid, senador, buong pamilya, buong angka nasa politika, Kaya nga ang Pilipinas laging huli, nasa bottom section ng Transparency International. Excessive and opaque regulation. Ang daming batas, ang daming bawal ganito, bawal ganoon. And we see that in our present situation. Ang daming batas, hindi naman na-implement ng mabuti. Wealth discrepancy. Dito sa atin, kapag public official ang expectation, mayaman ka. So, living a lifestyle that cannot be reasonably justified by official government salary. Ang sweldo ng isang congressman aabot lang ng 200,000, 250,000 every month. Meron yan ng mga meron pa yan ng mga mandatory deduction, more or less 200,000 per month. So that's more or less times 12, that's more or less 2.4 million a year. But they can afford to have mga 100 million of houses in Dasmariñas, in Forbes Dasmariñas, or kung saan-saan pang mga bahay. So that is very discrepancy of their on their wealth status. Lack of freedom information. Hanggang ngayon, wala pa rin tayong batas about freedom of information. May limit ang media, kaya naglipa na ang mga fake news. So civil society's ability to access permanent government record and scrutinize decision, marami pa rin na tinatago sa public na mga sensitive information para ma-access ng general public. Okay, next. Next slide, please. So, the government corruption requires collective effort. Sabi nga ni Mayor Vico Soto, hindi niya to kayang mag-isa. It needs citizens playing a crucial role in enforcing social accountability and integrity. So, kailangan ng support ng tao. Maraming nagsasabi na maswerte daw ang Pasig dahil meron silang Vico Soto. Sabi ni Vico Soto, maswerte siya dahil merong mga Pasigueño na responsible enough na naniniwala sa good governance, kaya siya nanalo. So it takes two to tango. It's not just the leader but the person, but the people, the citizen that needs to take action for us to have social accountability and integrity. Okay? So next po tayo? Next slide. Ayan, personal integrity. Ano bang pwede nating gawin para hindi tayo maging part ng corruption? Refuse to bribe. Huwag tayong huwag tayong magkaroon ng corruption, it takes two to tango. Merong nag-bribe, merong humingi ng bribe ng suhol, merong nagbayad. Kapag walang nagbayad, there can be no bribery. So I remember nung bago pa lang ako napasang seso, nung nakapasa ako ng 2012. I passed the seso exam, so all the while thinking na pagpasok ka ng seso, madali ka nang pumasok sa gobyerno kasi that's one of the requirement para ka maging maka-apply sa gobyerno. Yung seso is a third level eligibility ng civil service. Nag-apply ako noon in a national office. Okay, nakapasa sa exam, pagdating ko sa panel interview, ang tanong sa akin noon ng isang undersecretary. Taga Bicol ka pala. Taga Bicol pa ka pala. Humingi ka ng recommendation kay congressman ganito. So, para daw magi akong qualified to the position, kailangan kong humingi ng recommendation letter from a certain congressman in Bicol. So ang sabi ko, bakit ako hingi? Hindi ko naman yan kilala, hindi naman niya ako kilala. I never met him. Only taga Bicol siya. So in short, hindi ako kumuha ng recommendation letter. And obviously, hindi ako natanggap. So but then again, I refuse to follow the system even though that means that I will not have the position that I am applying for. So be it. So, legal process. Pag may lumapit sa inyo, may mga fixer, mapadali ang trabaho. No. You insist on the legal process. Humingi ng official receipt. Kapag merong babayaran, meron naman every agency merong citizen charter. Sundin 'yon kahit medyo matagal. You follow the instruction para at least walang ano yan, means yung AG, yung officer na yon or yung government official na yon para maipasok yung kanyang corrupt activities. And do not seek special favor. Avoid using personal collection or the palakasan system. Obvious naman yan na may palakasan talaga dito sa Pilipinas. You cannot enter into government without seeking some support sa mga kakilala or yung mga padrino system. So if you really want to break this cycle, then stand on your ground, do not seek a special favor. Your qualification is fixed on your merit. So try not ito yung medyo mahirap dito sa atin, but little by little, if we practice this, who knows, one of these days matawan din ang gobyerno natin and talagang maipatupad na yung transparency and integrity in the government service. Okay, next. Next slide. Reporting. Pag may na-witness kayo na experience na korupsyon, wag maging tahimik lang. Minsan nakakatakot din, di ba? Nakakatakot. Ganito po yun sa ombudsman, let's say may a government official, high-ranking official, mayor and above, mayor, board member, mayor, congressman, ganyan-ganyan. Pwede nyo naman yan i-report sa ombudsman through an anonymous letter. Tumatanggap ang ombudsman ng anonymous letter. So kung meron naman na meron naman tayong 888, yung hotline, still it's functioning. Pwede nyong i-report anonymous letter, that is allowed. So hindi natin kailangan, kung medyo matapang tayo, pwede natin yan i-report. I've been doing that for the last decade. Reporting corrupt activities that I experienced personally. So siguro advantage lang kasi lawyer ako So medyo natatakot din sila. So anti-corruption bodies such as Office of the Ombudsman, the PACC, the Civil Service, etc., the DILG. So yun po ang hindi masama na mag-report. Evil men succeeds because good men do nothing. So kaya yan namimihasa kasi walang nangangahas na mag-report or magreklamo laban sa kanila. But the moment na yan, pag na-imbestigahan yan, wala natatakot din yan, tao rin ang mga yan. So it takes courage to do this, but we need to be courageous if you really want to change. Okay, next. Use transparency tool. Use technology in government like online platforms. So bantay corruption. Ngayon merong isumbong mo sa Pangulo na website. Pwede kayo doon, pumunta. Hanapin niyo yung lugar niyo, nandoon nakalista yung mga flood control project sa lugar niyo. Pwede niyo hanapin. Tapos pag wala kayong nahanap, pwede niyo i-report. Pwede niyo i-report doon mismo sa site ng isumbong mo sa Pangulo na etong sinabi niyo na merong project dito sa barangay na to, wala naman. This is a ghost project. So, ganun yung mga yung condition of the road, nakikita kayo ng mga roads ngayon, picturean nyo lang, etong advantage ng social media. Pwede nyo mapost sa social media yung mga na-experience or nakita ng mga public projects that has the indicia na produkto to ng corrupt activities. Okay, next. Next po tayo. Yon. Collective action. Anong pinakamaganda? Vote wisely. Vote wisely. Ang kapangyarihan ng tao nasa pagboto. Huwag nating sayangin. Every year, ganyan ang sinasabi. Iboto ang tamang politiko. Kaya lang, marami pa rin ang nabibili. But then again, this 2025 show us the power of the new generation, the power of the Gen Z and the millennials na kaya nilang bumoto ng tama. So kasi surprise winners sina Bam at Kiko Pangilinan who are regardless as champion of good governance. So kaya kailangan even on a barangay, even kung nakita nyo si barangay kapitan nyo, wala namang ginagawa, lagi na lang nakikipagchismisan, lagi lang yabang lang naman, wag nyo lang iboto next time. Paano sir kung manalo, at least hindi ka part doon at least hindi ka naging part ng mga tao na bumoto doon. So malinis ang konsensya mo na hindi mo binoto yung hindi naman dapat karapat-dapat. You also may join civil society organization, yung mga volunteer groups and governance advocates, watchdog organization, etc. So kasi if you are in an organization, mas napapalaki or mas malawak yung scope ng pwede nyong gawin. Unlike you are doing it on your individual self. Mas mabuti pa rin na meron kayong grupo. So we founded the Albay Bar Association last year. Nagpaano kami, it is a group of young lawyers in Albay that wishes to have change in our government. So sa ngayon, ang tinatarget namin is the problem of electricity in Aleco. Kaya magkokonda kami ng mga energy summit. We will be requesting the presence of Aleco management. We will be requesting the provincial the provincial government or yung mga agencies that has the power to decide in the area of electricity in Albay. Okay, so next slide. Sige po. Next slide na po tayo. Ayan, mag-attend din ng mga hearings and consultation, public consultation, participate in local government budget, project consultation, and public forum to voice your concern. So parang ganitong mga klase ng forum, ganitong klase ng mga seminar, para mas magkaroon tayo ng para tayo magkaroon ng ng wide idea on how on the process on how these corrupt activities can be curbed. So monitor public delivery, service delivery. Ayan, pag may mga project, pwedeng tambayan nyo. Halimbawa sa lugar nyo, merong ginagawang kalsada, pwede nyong tambayan. I-check nyo, bakit walang kabilya? Yan, bakit ganyan. Bibidyoan ko kayo. You can video them. That's allowed. Pwede nyong i-video, pwede nyong i-post sa social media na eto, yung ginagawa sa amin, lahat lang basod, walang semento. Yung ginagawang flood control. You can do that. That is citizen action against corruption. So may ginagawa yung mga public services, yung distribute na gamot expired, pwede nyo videoan, pwede nyo picturean and post it in social media nang dinidistribute ni Rural Health Unit mga expired na gamot. So this data can pressure the government to improve its action. Okay? So next po tayo. Ayan, advocacy and education, demand transparency and demand transparency and open the data. The more forum like this, the more dialogue, the more corruption is being talked in the social media and any other fora, the better for us, because it will gain attention. Everyone is talking about it. It will put a lot of pressure to the government. So kaya anong nangyari? Nag-resign si Senate President. Nag-resign si Speaker of the House of Representatives. May nagtago na sa ibang bansa. May nag-travel sa ibang bansa because of the public outcry against corruption. Ngayon, meron nang nagko-call na bumaba na sa pwesto ang presidente. So that's the beauty of clamor. That's the beauty of public outcry. Kasi it will really create a lot of pressure to the government and its official to do better, to improve their services. Educate others. So raise awareness on the impact of corruption sa nanay nyo, sa family nyo. Raise awareness on that. Tayo ang may alam. Yung mga nakakaalam, kailangan inform natin yung mga walang alam. Na ito ang ginagawa ng Kaya yung mga sa social media, wag nating itolerate ang korupsyon. Wag nating tawanan ang korupsyon. Nakakainis ang korupsyon. Kailangan, sabi nga ni Mayor Vico Soto, gawin nating kadiri ang korupsyon. gawin natin na hindi katanggap-tanggap ang corrupt activities or nakakahiya ang activities. Naga City has already started that. The first executive order of Mayor Leni Robredo was zero tolerance on corruption. Kapag may nakitang corruption, dismiss agad. That should be ano. So kapag merong corrupt activities, inform agad yung taong yun, oy, I saw what you did. Educate others, okay, and protect whistleblowers. Support a stronger law and mechanism to protect individual that reports corruption from retaliation as fear of reprisal. Huwag na natin i-bash sa social media yung mga nagwi-whistleblower. Okay. So next ano yan? Next slide. Next slide. Next slide na po tayo. Tapos na pala. Okay. That ends my presentation. I hope you learned something from that, and thank you very much.
For that informative discussion. So instead of an open forum, we'll be collecting your questions digitally and we will be sending them to our speaker along with the awarding of the certificates. We now move on to the second part of our webinar, and we are all equally excited to know another esteemed speaker. To do the honors, please welcome Noel Roy Herman Capus, who will introduce our second guest speaker. Noel, the virtual stage is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Our speaker today is a distinguished public servant who has dedicated over 2 decades of her career to promoting integrity, transparency, and accountability in both national and international service. She once served as Undersecretary General of the United Nations Office of Internal Oversight Services and as Commissioner of the Commission on Audit, where she led initiatives that strengthened the country's audit systems and reinforced the fight against corruption. Her extensive experience in audit, investigation, and fraud examination has contributed to major reforms in public procurement and financial management, resulting in the recovery of millions of pesos in government funds. She is also the founder of the Citizens Participatory Audit, a program that empowers citizens to take part in monitoring government projects to ensure transparency and good governance. Her remarkable service and integrity have earned her numerous recognitions, including the PRC Outstanding Professional in Accountancy 2024, the Board of Accountancy Centennial Award for Excellence 2023, and being named one of Yahoo Philippines 7 Modern Filipino Heroes. A true advocate of honest and accountable leadership, she continues to serve as an inspiration to many Filipinos, especially those in public service. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all warmly welcome our esteemed guest speaker, Professor Heidi.
Hello, good morning sa inyong lahat. Okay. Can I ask someone to share the slides? Then, paki-share ng slides. I have sent you na to the messenger. Hello sa mga SK ng Buragis. Denver, can we share the slides? Yeah, okay, thank you. So I was listening a while ago, and I am thankful that Randy has already mentioned the things that you should do. So I will just focus on spotting red flags. And to auditors like us, medyo may kaibahan yung tinatawag nating red flags. Hindi natin pwedeng sabihin na walang transparency, red flag na. Hindi pwedeng ganon. Kasi may certain degree of, I would say, may certain degree of preponderance ng mga nakita mo, ng mga tinatawag nating circumstantial evidences o yung mga symptom of Yun yung hinahanap natin bago natin masabi na red flags sa corruption. Okay? So, nilagay ko lang yung konteksto kasi iba yung level of standards kapag ang pinag-uusapan ay audit at investigation. Pero for ordinary citizen, siguro pwede nating sabihin na kung walang transparency, kung merong mga nakita natin na merong pagkukuntsabahan, we can consider them as yung parang when you evaluate the internal control, parang nakita natin na mataas yung level of non-compliance with existing laws, rules, and regulations. And then, medyo weak ang internal control environment. So, pwede natin sabihin na permissive environment and therefore, pwede natin makonclude na nag increase yung risk na merong corruption. Okay? Ay ni-layout ko lang para at least magkaroon ng difference kung kailan natin sasabihin red flags from the point of view of an investigator or an auditor. Okay? So we go straight to the point. Can we go now to the next slide, please? Okay, so just a refresher. Kasi baka ang maalala nyo na lang ay yung fake news na kesyo ako ang dahilan kung ba't namatay si Corona, etc. Well, testifying before the Senate during the hearing on the impeachment of during the impeachment of Chief Justice Corona was just one of my functions kasi nga ako yung commissioner ng COA noon. And the Office of the Ombudsman requested for my assistance. Pero long before that, at siguro ito yung dapat mas matandaan, in 2011, I went out of my way and whistleblow on the biggest case of corruption in the Philippines. In fact, I'm being thankful rather to Ombudsman Boying Remulla kasi I think 2 days ago sinabi niya na the highest recovery on the part of the Philippine government still ay galing doon sa case ng ombudsman noon ni Simeon Marcelo, then Attorney Simeon Marcelo, then Ombudsman Attorney Simeon Marcelo. And that report was based on my audit findings. So we could say na hindi tayo natandaan doon sa parang mas malaking ambag. Mas natandaan nung mga ng fake news, yung hindi naman totoo, no? Kasi paano ka naman idadawit sa isang usapan na ikaw ang naging dahilan ng kanyang kamatayan. Matagal naman bago siya nagkaroon ng karamdaman at namatay, di ba? Pangalawa, hindi naman ako yung bumotong ma-impeach siya. I just presented the evidence on the basis of the analysis of last statements, no? So here on the slide is I think this is an article in Inquirer. That was the first time that I broke my silence and I broke my private life kasi I went out in the open and blow the whistle. Okay? So next slide, please. So let us begin with this exercise. So sabi ko nga, where is the other 50 million? Kasi this case is about a check that was deposited pero iba ang naging treatment, ano? Kasi pag sinabi nating deposited yung cheque, then the entire funds must be deposited in that account kung saan ipinasok. Pero ang nangyari doon sa cheque, parang binarya. Pinaghati-hati ng millions, merong dineposit sa investment, merong dineposit sa passbook, etc. So, ito yung isang passbook na ibinigay sa amin noon, ano? So, syempre kung students kayo, madali kayong magtiwala sa passbook, ano, parang tatanggapin niyo na lang yan kasi galing yan sa bangko. In other words, it's a third-party document. So, now let us participate in this exercise, ano? So, this is a page of a passbook. Can you spot what's the problem? So, ano yung difference? Pag tiningnan natin yung first amount that is typewritten and not a machine entry, look at the difference in the way the number 5 is written in the first entry as compared to the next. Okay? So, ang ginawa pala, kakonnive rather, yung mga sa bangko, ang ginawa, nilagyan ng typewritten na 50 million sa ibabaw. Kaya yung susunod na entry, iba na yung yung figure or iba yung number 5 kasi sa dun sa 5 doon sa first line. Next slide, please. So, okay, tampering of page 1 of savings account, hiding a difference of at least 52 million. So, tingnan natin. This is the line number. This is the date. This is the debit column, the credit column, and the balance. Okay. So, if you take a look at line 25 and line 26, then there is a missing amount, di ba? So, because if you take a look at line 25, given a balance of 92 million under line 25, the new balance for line number 26 after deducting 28,420 should have been 92 million and not 40,154. Okay? So, anong nangyari? Further investigation revealed that sa bangko pala, when you are in connivance with the one processing your account, ang ginawa nila, there is the so-called print command pala. So pag ginamit nila yung print command, only selected will be printed. So in this case, meron silang itinagong expenses, kaya ito yung naging balanse. Pero kapag hindi ka mabusisi sa audit, titingnan mo lang, accept mo lang na ito yung balanse. So for student who would like to follow my my journey or what, siguro para exciting ang buhay nyo, ayan. So you will always assume that what is being presented to you is not at all may not be real, okay? Ganun lang 'yon, okay? So dito in this particular example, 92 million yung balance, pagkabawas ng 28,420, 40 million. Ang tendency kasi ng auditor ay titingnan lang yung balanse, di ba? So here, particularly between line 26 and 27, merong expenditure na itinago. And it was made possible through the print command ng tao ng bangko. So, okay? Ganun yung extent ng connivance. So if we take a look at the DPWH flood scam, nagtataka rin tayo bakit hindi man lang nagtanong na bakit ang lalaki ng ini-encash. And then parang paulit-ulit, di ba? We know that under the rules of the bank, meron tayong tinatawag na KYC or Know Your Client, no? So parang iniisip natin, paano nangyari na nagpapatuloy yung pag-withdraw ng malalaking amount na wala man lang tinatanong on the part of the bank, no? So dito sa particular na audit namin, napatunayan namin yung hindi naman napatunayan, na-observe namin na hindi kayang i-perfect yung ganitong condition without the connivance of the bank, okay? Or someone from the bank, not necessarily the bank. Next slide. Ito yung in-audit namin naman na hospital equipment, no? So yung hospital equipment, this is a dry heat sterilizer. So lumalabas ang pagkabili ng isang local government na may-ari ng hospital na nagpapatakbo ng hospital ay 1,465,000 per unit. Now, next slide please para makita natin. So, nung magkaroon kami ng pinakang canvas, kami doon sa mga suppliers na nagtitinda namin itong mga equipment nito, nagulat kami kasi 16,000 lang at 13,500 yung maliit. Nakita niyo kung gaano kalaki yung overpricing, right? Gaano karaming ganito ang bibilhin sa isang ospital. Next slide. Next slide po. Ito naman yung hospital bed na kasama din doon sa mga inimbestigahan namin. And ayun nga, lumalabas na 545,000 siya. Nung na-trace namin, it was only 60,840. So, paano namin ito na-trace? Kinuha namin yung, kasi syempre, yung mga supplier, yun ang kalupitan dito sa Pilipinas eh. Hindi talaga, lahat talaga tahimik. Lahat masaya, kaya lahat ay tahimik. So, ang ginawa namin, since sinasabi nila that this bed was imported from New Jersey, nagpunta kami sa Bureau of Customs, kinuha namin yung tinatawag nating importation document, yung import-export entry. So nung nakita namin yung importation document, napatunayan namin na it was not made in New Jersey. It was made in Taiwan and Hindi siya 545,000 kung hindi 60,840 lamang. Next slide. So, ito yung purchase order ng isang local government. At nakita natin na ano yung diferensya dito. So, ang ginawa nila, nung pinrocess yung payment for purposes of collection, nag-insert sila doon sa column ng articles, ng cryosurgical equipment. And then, nung dinala sa inspection, ang ipinakita naman nila ay yung carbon copy na inadjust nila, ibinaba ang carbon copy para hindi siya mahagip. And therefore, pagdating sa inspection, ay hindi siya hahanapin. Next slide. May I just request, Denver, you cannot share the copies of this slide, please. Kasi ginamit ito sa court. So you cannot share that. Ako lang yung may right nito. Okay, Denver, please. Okay. So here, ito ang kalokohan sa barangay. At maraming ganito, okay? So take a look at this. Can you please ask the audience ano yung observation nila and guess paano dinaya itong document na to? Okay, so mag-spot tayo ng red flags. Ano yung red flags ng document na to on the basis of this document? Can you ask the audience to participate? Denver? Hello? Any participant who would like to try? Hello?
Hello, Prof.
Yes?
Ako po si Neil Hudi.
Apo?
Siguro ko po, dito sa red flag dito, ito yung parang blurred na part. So hindi po kasi visible, parang ito yung ito pwedeng dahilan or pwedeng ma-tampered or tampered na itong document.
Okay. This is definitely tampered, pero hindi po dito yung tampering. Yung tampering is not on the blurred, blurred, hindi ho doon. Although you have a very good observation po. When you are an auditor, you would like to become an investigator, kailangan quick ka sa pag-observe in terms of luma ba yung papel. Kasi kung matagal ng transaction yan, dapat luma yung papel. Kung medyo bago, that means bagong produce ang ebidensya, no? Second, hahanapan mo talaga ng mga blurred, ng mga suspicious, parang may napahe, may nabura, etc. But there is one thing that is glaring on this particular document. Any other one who would like to attempt? Okay, so can I ask Denver, can you focus the cursor on the word general payroll? Cursor, please. Yeah. So can you spot the letter L? No. Do not go there yet. Can you spot the letter L of the general? Nawala yung dash sa ilalim, di ba? The cursor on the L on the middle, general yan, okay? So take note na wala yung L katulad nito, yung horizontal line. Denver, can you put your cursor on the L on the last of payroll? 'Di ba? Nakita mo yung L, merong ganon, 'di ba? May horizontal, ito wala. Alam niyo kung bakit? Hinati niya sa gitna. yung general payroll. Why? In order to preserve the signatures. Kasi ayaw nilang forge ng signature, 'di ba? So what they did is uh, the cursor on top of the general L, the cursor on top of the L. Oh yeah. So they divide this kinat pababa, and then they make another claim, nilagay yung pangalan, nilagay yung amount, at ipipaste yung photocopy ng signature. So they have now another claim. So ito ay case ng ghost employees. So kumbaga, hindi mo finorge yung signature, pero fake yung document dahil hinati mo at pinagpatong mo lang. So, gaya na sinabi ko, dapat observant ka, ano? Dapat alam mo yung materials kung parehas, alam mo kung luma or matagal na, and then titingnan mo. So the first giveaway here is yung horizontal ng L na wala, 'di ba? So parang general payroll, 'di ba? And then if you take a look at this horizontal lines, lalo na yung lines ng nakita mo yung lines between the lines, the column on, hindi ko masyado makita. Ano ba ito? The columns on deduction, no? Yung second column after within deduction, yan. Denver, can you put yan, okay? Can you see the horizontal line? Hindi siya nagko-connect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yan. Nakita mo yung line? Hindi siya nagko-connect. So that's how you analyze documents. Nakita mo? Diba? Ang ganda. Ayan. Thank you very much for expanding it, Denver, no? So, una muna, focus muna tayo sa general payroll, okay? Ipalakihin mo siya ng konti, Denver. And then try to put the cursor on the letter L of the general. Okay, that's it. So, naging general. Kasi nga, ipipaste. And then, pababa on the second column under deductions, nakita mo yung line? Can you focus your cursor there? 1, 2, second, third horizontal line under a second column. Yan, yan, yan. That's it. Pababa, pababa. Yes, yes. Hindi nag-connect. Nagkaroon ng break yung horizontal line. So, ganyan ka tedious, ganyan ka dapat ka-observant when processing documents. Next slide. Thank you very much, Denver. Next slide na tayo. Okay. Now, ito yung exciting sa ginawa naming financial investigation noon, ano? So pag tiningnan mo, parehas siyang product brochure. So it's a product brochure of an ultrasound. So ang pinresent noong supplier as one is an original and the other one is a fake. Hindi lang fake news, may fake product brochure din. Okay. Again, we like the class to participate. Can you find out which one is original and which one is fake? And then bakit nyo nasabing fake? Okay? So, sino ba ang moderator natin? So, kapag sinabi ninyo na okay, siguro, heart react, then maybe what you can do is you put your cursor on Aloka and then ask the audience, if you feel like this is the original, use heart react. Ay, wala ako makakitang heart react. Ayun. Okay, isa lang. Dalawa. Okay. Ayan, madami na, madami na. Okay? Okay. So, yung kabila, yung Dynaview na kabila, si Kowa. Sa si Kowa, ano na ba to? Yan. So, si Kowa, sino nagsasabi? O yan, sabi niya, thumbs down daw. Okay. Tanungin natin yung participants, why do you think this is fake? The si Kowa one. Hello? Can we ask for participants? Bakit sa tingin nyo fake? Okay. Ang ating training is on red flags, kaya dapat sumasali. Hindi pwedeng hindi, di ba? Any volunteer?
Hello po.
Yes?
I am Sandara po from yung na-observe ko po sa number 2 brochure is wala siyang model number po. Unlike sa brochure number 1 po sa Aloka.
Okay, that's very good. That's a very good observation. What else? Ano pa po? Ano pa po? Huwag niyo na pong tingnan yung mukha sa kabilang side. Hindi lang ako marunong mag-edit. Okay. Okay. So ano pa yung isang giveaway na at ito ay fake? At saka ano ang ginawa? How was the act concealed? Lagi yung ganun ang tanong. Ano? Paano itinago yung kalokohan? In the first place, bakit nila kailangan mag-submit ng fake brochure? Kasi po ganito po yon. Sa procurement po, para ma-exempt ka po sa public bidding, kailangan meron kang ibang option modality na kuhanin. Halimbawa, yung negotiation. Part po ng negotiation, hindi ka talaga magbibid kung meron kang tinatawag na exclusive distributor, no? Para masabing exclusive distributor, ibig sabihin, ikaw lang ang nagma-market niyan. Kaya ikaw lang ang nagma-market niyan, we assume na makukuha natin ng mas mababang presyo kasi hindi siya dumaan sa iba, okay? And second, yung requirement ay it should be the cheapest in the market. So ang ginawa nila, nanggawa sila ng sarili nilang brand, okay? And therefore, Denver, can you put your cursor on the Sikowa and encircle it? So ang ginawa nila, nag-print sila ngayon ng pangalang Sikowa, nilagyan lang nila ng sign or something, medical sign. No, not there, dito sa Sikowa mismo, sa pangalan mismo ng Sikowa. At ipinatsi nila, Denver lower. Doon mismo sa Sikowa. Kaya pag tiningnan mo, kinompare mo dito sa Aloka, yung Aloka na brochure, makikita mo pa yung likod, di ba? Dito, hindi na. Kasi ang ginawa, ipinatse. How do you call ipinatse? Itinapal, superimposed. Okay, ayan. So yan ang giveaway. Ngayon, nakakatawa to. Kasi nung nagpunta na kami sa actual investigation and we tried to sneak into the operating room, nakita namin na iba naman pala ang talagang actually na binili nila. Kasi wala nga kasing ganitong brand. Ginawa lang nila, no? Lo and behold, nung mag-confirm kami, napatunayan namin doon sa mismong country office ng brand na dinala nila, na hindi na siya nag exist kasi pulled out siya from the market. So nakakalungkot, di ba? Pulled out na from the market, pero naibenta pa, naipasa pa sa gobyerno. Hindi lang yon at a very exorbitant price. Ano? Na-overpricing na, hindi pa magagamit dahil nga technically deficient. Nung pa yan ha, findings namin ito nung mga 2000 pa. Kaya hindi na ako masyadong nagugulat sa nakikita natin ngayon. Kaya lang ngayon, mas kumapal ang mga mukha na magnanakaw eh. Hindi na sila nag-isip ng mahirap na paraan. Simple na lang. Ginawa na lang nilang tinoktor nila yung bidding, naghiram sila ng lisensya, pagkatapos pinapirma sa maling statement of work accomplished, kunyari na inspect, and then yun na. Bilyon-bilyon ang ibinulsa nila, walang natira sa project, no? Next slide. So, kailangan natin yung tinatawag na Citizens Participatory Audit. And lo and behold, naalala ko, the first time we launched it, hindi po ako yung founder ng Citizens Participatory Audit. Please correct it. Hindi po ako. Ang unang gumamit po nito ay yung Concerned Citizens of Abra. Okay? So, inadapt po yan ng COA and then nag-issue kami ng policy on that. No? So, yung unang ginawa ng Citizens Participatory Audit ay yung tinatawag nating Kamanava Flood Control Project. So, noon pa lang, ino-audit na namin yan. Kaya pag sinasabi, ano nangyari, bakit ganito? Ay talaga lang may lapses in terms of dahil kulang ang auditor, pangalawa, kulang ang engineer, at masyadong malalakas ang loob ng mga And of course, hindi natin maiwasan, hindi maiwasan, nakakalungkot na marinig na pati ang commissioner ng COA, ang asawa ay isang contractor. So napakataas ng connivance, no? So ito yung stages ng Citizens Participatory Audit. Ang ating tinitingnan ay yung posibilidad na sana maisabatas ang pag-participate ng mamamayan. Kasi kung gagawin lang yung pulisiya as of now, pagpapalit ng presidente, pagpapalit ng head of units, maninibago na naman, aalisin na naman yan, lalong-lalo na kung sila ay mahirapan. Okay? Next slide. So, nung Yolanda, nag-conduct uli kami ng Citizens Participatory Audit. So, in this particular case, kung sino yung mga citizen nagagamit ng bahay, sila yung isinama namin sa inspection. So, sa Citizens Participatory Audit, kayo yung mag-i-inspect, kaya very exciting. Kayo yung magsusukat, kayo yung mag-observe kung within the standards ba, in accordance ba with plans and specifications. Next slide. Naniniwala ako na kung may Citizens Participatory Audit, maiiwasan natin ang mga ghost project. Isa doon sa tinitingnan naming app ay yung possibility na makuha natin yung listahan ng mga flood control project. Next slide please. At pagkatapos ay maipakita natin yung contractor niya at saka kung kailan yung date na sinimulan, yung date na tinapos. Pakipindot po uli. And then, sa isang column, mai-upload naman ng mga citizen yung pag-visit nila doon sa mga project na yon with the same coordinates and find out ano ang itsura ng project na yon vis-a-vis yung DPWH listing ng flood control together with the contractors and the date started and date completed. Kailangan nating tumulong at mag-ambag. Sabi ko nga, hindi ka pwedeng mangarap lang ng magkaroon ng malinis na pamamahala. Kailangan mag-ambag ka at mga pital ng oras. Kaya sa mga nag-organize ng project na ito, maraming salamat. Sa Dean ng Bicol State University, ng Bicol University, sa iba't ibang mga college department heads, sa lahat ng mga guro at mga staff, pati na lalong-lalo na sa lahat ng mga estudyante na nagbubuo nito, kayo ay nag-aambag at ito ay malaking tulong. Denver, maraming salamat. Thank you. Please skip the slide. Do not distribute it. Kasi majority of those are used as evidence in court. Okay? Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Professor Mendoza. We have just been treated to another thought-provoking presentation. This is your opportunity to engage directly with our speaker. Please use the Q&A feature or raise your virtual hand to ask your questions. Yes, Mr. Brasola, you are now recognized.
Hello po, magandang umaga po, Prof. Heidi, and sa lahat po ng participants sa webinar na ito. Tanong ko lamang po, bilang po mga estudyante o private citizen, paano po kami makakakuha ng access sa mga dokumento ng gobyerno kung sa tingin po namin ay kahina-hinala o maanomalya ang mga proyekto nito? At hanggang saan po ba ang karapatan naming mga private citizens sa access to public documents? Maraming salamat po.
Hello, thank you very much for asking. Wala ngayon eh. Wala pa tayong the right to know, hindi pa siya naipapasa. So, still walang access. That's why, under the Citizens Participatory Audit approach, kasama yung citizen as auditors. Pero of course, hindi kayo magdi-disallow ha. Kasama lang kayo pag-prepare ng audit program, pag-analyze ng document, and then pag-conduct ng inspection. Okay? Kasi right now, there is no access to this information because wala pa tayong, hindi pa naiisa batas yung right to information, yung FOI bill, Kaya nga kasama yun doon sa mga people's initiative na itutulak natin para at least mag-gather natin, ma-harness natin ang lahat ng efforts dito sa ating pagkagising sa napakalawak na ng katiwalian. Maraming salamat.
Yes, so any other questions?
Maraming salamat po, Prof. Heidi. Kung maaari lamang po na magdagdag po ako ng katanungan, if okay lang po.
Wala akong problema.
Okay po. So, Tanong ko lang po, sa tingin niyo po ba may patutunguhan o sincero ang mga investigasyon ng administrasyon na ito sa maanumalyang infrastructure projects? Hindi ba mas nababawasan ang tiwala ng tao kung ang nag-iimbestiga sa mga korap ay kapwa-korap niya din? Though meron tayong ICI, we can't deny the fact na ito ay ginawa at pinili pa rin ng Malacanang unang Pangulo. Maraming salamat.
Paano sinasabing ginawa at binili or pinili? What's the term you used?
Bali, ginawa po yung komisyon ng ICI ng Pangulo at yung mga umupo po doon ay pinili din po ng Pangulo.
Ginawa at pinili. Actually, I don't want to give any opinion, kasi ang problema sa atin, kapag ako ang nagsalita, it will be taken as factual kasi ako ay dating auditor, no? So this is personal and it has nothing to do with all those na talagang sinasabi ko, ina-expose ko kasi I have the facts, no? We have to start trusting kahit papano, no? Until after makita natin na hindi siya nagde-deliver. Alam mo kung bakit we have to start trusting? Wala tayong pupuntahan kung hindi natin pagkakatiwalaan eh. 'Di ba? We need to have someone who will investigate. Sino ba naman talaga ang mag-a-appoint yan? Ay di ba talagang dapat yung presidente, ano? Kaya lang ang akin lang personal na kuro-kuro ay yung mandato na nag-create ng ICI. Like halimbawa, katulad kahapon, sinabi na ayaw mag-testify ng mga diskaya at hindi sila pwedeng i-compel. So that's the problem, no? So parang medyo kulang yung mandato para masabi natin na makuha talaga yung pinakarurok ng ano ba talaga ang nangyari, no? On the other hand, ang tinitingnan ko rin dito ay yung time kasi napakatagal bago nabuo yung ICI, ano? Siyempre, yung mga iba niyan, alam na nilang maimbestigahan sila, naitago na yan lahat ng yaman, lahat ng links at yung iba pa nga nagsira ng dokumento, di ba? Pangatlo, ang dami nag-iimbestiga. Merong Blue Ribbon, merong Congress, mabuti ngayon ay tinigil na, no? And then meron din ang COA, meron din ang Ombudsman. Meron ng ICI. Ang ICI hindi sila yung magpapakulong, 'di ba? They will just do some recommendations. Recommendatory lang sila. Ang kinakatakot ko dito ay sa haba-haba ng investigasyon o ng deliberation ng ICI, magre-recommend sila. So parehas din ang pupuntahan. Pupunta rin yan sa ombudsman for fact-finding and then sa papasok sa korte. So in other words, kung ganyan din pala yung proseso, bakit kaya hindi na lang natin ginawa na it's a fact-finding, a joint fact-finding by the ombudsman and the Commission on Audit, and then with independent observers, doon mo ipapasok yung mga pinili mo sa ICI para na-cut short mo yung tinatawag nating learning curve. Kasi may learning curve yan eh. Hindi sila masyadong sanay doon sa ano nangyayari sa baba, no? Pag auditors, alam yan. Pag investigador, alam yan. Now, you have the best among the audit bodies sa external, nandiyan ang SGB. But then, hindi nila masyadong familiar sa government procurement, hindi rin sila familiar sa government accounting. So, magkakaroon pa ng learning, no? So, ang tingin ko talaga ay, instead of doing it, joint investigation ng COA and Ombudsman, and then there are independent observers inside. Para pagkatapos nun, sabay file na ng ombudsman. You cut the process. Again, I will repeat, this is a personal opinion. At sabi ko nga, I'd like to, ayoko na tinitake yung ko ng personal opinion kasi I do not have the facts right now. Yun ang pagkakaiba. Unlike na kapag nagsalita ako sa confidential funds, hindi lang yung opinion kasi it is a well-guided and a factual opinion kasi meron akong ebidensya na pinagbabasihan. Okay? However, I feel strongly talaga na there should be a joint investigation between COA and Ombudsman. Nandun yung financial skills and analytics competence ng auditor. Naandun din yung requirement ng fact-finding dahil may mga representative ng Ombudsman and it's being led by the Ombudsman. And then merong independent observer. Doon papasok yung mga ng ICI. Kasi as it is right now, humihingi tayo ng transparency, hindi ako nagsasalita dito kasi alam ko kung gaano kahalaga yung tinatawag nating confidentiality, for purposes of investigation. Kasi baka masunog mo yung lead eh. Unfortunately, there is so much distrust na hindi kaya ng mga tao na hindi makita kung anong nangyayari sa loob. Kaya, I think for purposes of developing confidence and trust, kailangan nila talagang gawing open. Okay? Maraming salamat.
Thank you po, Prof. Any
Good
other
morning,
question
Prof.
po?
Good morning, Prof. Ako po si Nipo. Ako yung professor nila dito sa sa Ethics and Accountability in the Public Service. Bago po itong seminar na to, inatasan ko tong mga estudyante ko na magdokumento ng isang proyekto ng pamahalaan na nakikita nila sa kanilang barangay, on the barangay level.
Ay, salamat.
Ah,
Napakagaling po ng
para at least may may baseline kami.
Tama
Kung
po yun, Prof. Maraming
after
salamat.
this forum, saan kami patutungo? So, iniisip ko sana para makakontribute kami in shedding light para ma-document yung mga irregularities na nakikita namin dito sa sa barangay o na barangay level. So, paano kaya kami makaka-contribute dito sa kasi ah, naniniwala kami na kung silensyo lang kami, kung tahimik lang kami, nagiging bahagi kami ng katiwalian. So, para sa mga estudyante, para sa mga professor, ito yung mga simple things na pwede naming ma-contribute dito sa sa investigation na to.
Okay.
So, may mga dala-dala silang dokumento or dokumentong mga anomalous document, hindi naman anomalous, mga na dokumento lang nilang mga irregularity sa kanilang barangay. So, paano po namin to pwedeng i-contribute sa kausa ng pagiging transparent, yung pagiging accountable ng mga government
You can go to the
officials?
social media and post
Salamat.
it, di ho ba? Ang pinaka-alternative po natin ngayon ay yung social media, di ba? By simply fighting disinformation, by simply posting things that you have observed, malaking tulong po yon. Pero bibigyan ko kayo ng specific examples ng ilang ginagawa ng ilang community, Meron ho akong natulungan noon yung isang barangay sa Iloilo. Ang ginawa ho nila, simple lang. Kinuha ho nila yung share ng Internal Revenue Allotment ng kanilang mga barangay. Tapos ipinost po nila sa harap ng simbahan para alam po ng mga barangay, ganito pala kalaki ang perang natanggap ng aking barangay. And then, i-demand nyo yung listahan ng project na funded out of the Internal Revenue Allotment. Pagkatapos, listahan lang naman yan. Kung wala pa rin ho, pwede nyo tingnan sa Department of Budget and Management website. So kapag nakita nyo yung project, puntahan nyo at i-picture nyo and you start posting them in the website or posting them on huge billboards sa simbahan. Ito ang internal revenue allotment ng aming baryo. Ito yung mga project na dapat nagawa. Ito ang mga itsura ng mga project na ito. Kasi right now, ang cure ay yung transparency, yung mas maraming impormasyon ang ma-share sa citizen. Ay dahil nga hindi naman tayo maka-access para maturuan kayo na makapag-imbestiga ng mga voucher, ng mga procurement, wala ho eh. Pangalawa, hindi nyo rin ho kakayanin dahil wala kayong training sa procurement. So, pinakasimple na lang ho. Yung sabi ko nga ho, kunin nyo yung listahan ng Internal Revenue Allotment. Nasa GAA po yan, sa GAA or nasa DBM website. Ang katapos po nun ay kunin nyo rin ho yung ano yung mga project, na andun po ang listahan nun. And then puntahan nyo yung project, siguraduhin nyo lang na the same ang coordinates, tanungin nyo yung barangay captain, pagkatapos i-picture nyo. And then parang imi-mix, ano bang tawag na? Smash up ninyo doon sa mga tarpaulins or what yung eto yung listahan, eto ang actual na pinuntahan, parang ganon. That will be very good po. Pangalawa, pwede rin ho yung sinasabi natin na, ay kaya lang ho ito, dapat ay bukas ang barangay. Pwede na magpadala ng mga accounting students para sila ho yung mag-observe or mag-analyze ng mga barangay financial statements. Yung nga like ko sinasabi, karamihan sa barangay ay walang masyado naintindihan sa preparation of FS. Ito naman mga eskwelahan, naghahanap ng paraan na sila OJT. So gandang halimbawa po na yung mga accounting students ay magkaroon ng on-the-job training sa barangay. Okay pa?
Prof, na-mention mo na rin na parang yung contribution ng academe dito sa mga ginagawang investigation na to. Ay even inisip ko na ano kaya kung sa mga mga thesis problems, thesis title, ano kaya kung maging parang documentary research itong mga bagay na to para para makatulong naman ang academe sa pag-expose nitong mga bagay na to. Pwede kaya yun? Feasible kaya yun, Prof?
Actually, hindi ho siya masyado makaka-contribute kasi hindi naman nila babasahin yan eh. And to be honest, marami hong gumagawa niyan. The Development Academy of the Philippines is doing that. The PIDS o yung ano tawag nito, Philippine Institute of Development Studies is doing that. Meron din ho tayong mga tinatawag na para ho makapagtapos ng seso sa amin sa COA, kailangan may policy paper. So napakadami ho ng pag-aaral. Eh ang tanong ho ay binabasa ba? Hindi. So sabi ko, let's go sa napakasimple. Turuan natin mga estudyante to fight disinformation. Ang pinakamahirap po kasi ay ang binabash ay yung nagsasabi ng totoo. O, nakita ko, I started with that, di ba? Sinasabi na, hindi ko makakalimutan na ginawa mo kay Corona. But actually, I just analyze his accounts and it doesn't mean na in-exonerate siya ng korte. Wala siyang kasalanan, di ho ba? Oh, so parang ang punto, so ang pinakamadaling paglaban ngayon na may talagang bigat, teacher student to follow the right i-follow yung right influencer. Matutong mag-research ng information. Huwag mag-share ng fake news. At tumulong sa paglaban doon sa mga binabash na mga nagsasabi ng totoo, di ba? May whistleblower tayong pinatay recently. Pero tingnan mo, bahagya lang yung nagsishare. Bahagya lang yung nagsishare ng kwento niya. Hindi na ako lalayo, but this may sound selfish, Yung page ko na lang eh. Kapag tinotroll ako, konti lang talaga yung magsasabi. Kapag nagle-lecture ako, konti lang yung magre-react. That's why nagtatampo ako minsan people will be asking, Prof, mag-lecture ka naman, etc. At natataranta ako sa dami ng request. Pero gusto ko sabihin, I have always been very open. Lahat yan na-discuss ko na sa Facebook ko, but obviously walang nagpo-follow. So yun ang puntos natin. Huwag na nating parang we will be doing academic research, etc., etc. Well, if you like it, that's welcome. Okay naman. Pero I tell you, hindi siya masyadong makakabigay ng ambag. Kasi ang dami ng pag-aaral dyan at hindi naman talaga binabasa. Plus, kung yung pag-aaral na yun ay mananatiling isang pag-aaral sa inyong universidad, ano yung assurance natin na makakaabot siya at magiging part ng national debate? Right now, the debate on the budget is ongoing. Maraming sinasabi si Prof. Cielo sa budget. Meron siyang platform doon. Lagi kong sinishare yung mga discussion on the budget together with Budget Babe si Miss Saisa, Nandyan din si Christian Isguera, nandyan si Richard Haydarian. Pero mas pina-follow yung wala lang, pakyut lang o nakakatawa. And worst, hindi tama ang sinasabi. Tumutulong pa sa pag-bash or paniniwala na ng mga fake news na ipinipedal. So sa akin it is as simple as hanapin nyo kung sino ba yung nagpapaliwanag ng budget. I-share nyo yon and ask several followers or several group members or gawin ho nating common na usapan ang budget, di ba? Sa tambayan, sa pamilya, sa eskwelahan, gawin nating usapan ano yung budget, ano yung proseso, ano yung mga hindi tama. Kung sa barangay nakita niyong hindi tama ang pag-approve ng budget, say so. Okay? So yun yung pinakakailangan ngayon. We need to push back kasi ang pinakamalaking tulong sa mga korap ay yung tinatawag na disinformation. Alam niyo, ito yung pinakamasakit Yung disinformation sa confidential funds, ang ikinakalat nila, wala namang mali dyan kasi clean ang audit opinion. And among professionals, alam natin na ang clean audit opinion ay hindi nagpapaliwanag na ito ay clean kaya walang corruption. No. It only says na it is in accordance with international accounting practices and standards. It says something about presentation of the accounts, right? The existence, the ownership, the validity of the accounts. the consistent application of these accounts over the years, di ba? Pero anong gagawin? Hindi yung auditor o yung accounting students na nagpapaliwanag ng clean opinion, yung mga vlogger. So napaka-basic po ng pwede nating gawin. At talaga ho, totoo, nakakapagod po. Imagine kahapon may 4 akong session. Ngayon nagsingit ako ng isa and then after this, I'm flying to Iloilo for another session. Pag tiningnan po natin, hanggang saan tatagal ito? Pero kayang-kaya naman sana nating maging guro at kayang-kaya rin nating magpahayag ng totoo. Kayang-kaya rin nating basahin kung alin ang totoo at huwag ikalat ang hindi totoo. And at the very least, i-share natin, i-support natin yung naghihirap, hindi binabayaran, pero patuloy na lumalaban sa katiwalian. Maraming salamat. Kung wala na pong katanungan, ako po ay babiyahe pa. Papunta pa po ako ng Iloilo. I think the forum tomorrow, right, will be live telecast or something. Parang so you watch those and hindi lang ho 'yun, yung mga discussion sa budget ni na Sai at saka ni na Prof. Shelo, it is always like a lecture in class. Start using those. Start sharing those, no? Meron din ho ako mga lecture no na wala na ata sa may mga live discussions ako. Pero yun nga ho kapag mga live discussions, 1, 2, 7, 100. Pero kung ikaw ay sumayaw, kumanta, aliw na aliw silang lahat, no? Hindi ho ito yung tipong nagiging visible ka dahil gusto mong tumakbo at manalo. Hindi po yon. Nagiging visible ka dahil mas gusto mo na mapakinggan ka. Kasi nakakalunod ang mga kasinungalingan at ito ang lalong nagpapatatag ng katiwalian. So, last question po, kung pwede.
Yes, Miss Albanyo, for the last question.
Sa ngayon po na patuloy pa ang paglipanan ng umalingasang anomalyang gobyerno, gusto lang po namin malaman kung ano ang ginagakbang ng mga sangay o departamento ng gobyerno, lalo na ang kinauukulan sa pagsuport. At mayroon na bang napanagot o kung wala ay may maaasahan pa ba tayong may mananagot?
Madam, your question is off tangent. I wouldn't know what the government plans because precisely I do not belong to the government right now. Okay? Hindi ko masasabi kung may mapapanagot or what.
Thank
Kasi
you,
hindi ko hawak yung
Professor
gobyerno.
Heidi, and
Salamat.
everyone who contributed to the discussion. We will now proceed with the awarding of certificates to our guest speakers. Citation reads, certificate of commendation is awarded to Professor Heidi Attorney Randy B. Blanca, sharing her invaluable knowledge during the online webinar entitled Participatory Governance
Ma'am, paki-correct lang po na middle initial. It is not RL.
News to inform the government of the people's sentiments. That our voice. Apologies po for the mistake. We'll change it po immediately. Thank
Salamat.
Signed by the department chair, the director of PUJMRIGD, Dr. Noy Lobrigo Ibo, and the SUC President the third. Sa muli, maraming salamat po.
Recording in progress.
So let's capture this moment. We invite everyone to turn on opportunity.
Sino mag-ano? Sino mag-ano? Screenshot?
Slide po. As we draw closer to the end, it is my honor to introduce a person who is consistently goes above and beyond, made an indelible mark on our lives, instilling in us a thirst for knowledge that we will carry with us forever. Ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between, to deliver the closing remarks, help me welcome the director of BU Jessie M. Robredo, Institute of Governance and Development, Dr. Noemi Lobrigo Ibo.
Okay, thank you very much. To the University President of Bicol University, Dr. Baby Boy Benjamin Lebres III, other officials of Bicol University, to Ms. Jovel Duana, the Associate Director of the Jessie M. Robredo Institute of Governance and Development, Mr. Neil Hugo, the BPA Department Chair, other faculty members of JMRI, GD, and staff, our partners and sponsors for this morning's activity, to our distinguished resource persons, Attorney Randy Blanza and Dean Heide Mendoza. Good morning. Truly a very interesting, informative, interactive discussion. Sana nga marami pa tayong oras for this kind of engagement. For us faculty members of the JMRI-GD, this activity is an affirmation of what we believed in as we continue to nurture and trigger the minds of our students. To participate, a citizen's participation is one of the keys to good governance. That we should not only wait for our leaders to implement projects needed by us, but more importantly, we need to let them know what are the projects needed by our community and the country. And of course, consistently participating in making it possible. If not, if the need arises, there got to be an aggressive participation of the community to make all these projects possible. And that we would like to tell them that we don't need only their projects, but we need a quality and effective projects. And that we also let our students know that it is important for them to know the original or genuine service delivery coming from the government, from fake services. To our BPA students, whom we always call the new breed of public administrators, na siya pong ambag namin sa ating bansa, we must really, or you must really emulate the 4 M's of the late Secretary of the DILG. Mahusay, matino, matapat at may pusong paninilbihan or pamumuno, to be able to achieve our stars or star, which is a corrupt-free government. Hence, maginhawa, matatag at panatag na buhay. To our Filipino, to all Filipinos. So to our resource persons, we would like to tell you that our hearts and minds are full with the new information, the added knowledge, the experience shared to us. We are right to have you both in mind when we conceived of this project. And so may I request all those who are in attendance online to please give our resource persons a resounding virtual round of applause. Thank you. Thank you very much. So thank you very much, Attorney Randy and Dean Heide Mendoza, for sharing your time with us, your knowledge, as well as your experiences. God bless you. Also, this activity is also made possible because of the support and trust to Bicol University JMRI-GD of our partners and sponsors. I would like to acknowledge Lingkod, the BPA College publication. The advisor is Ma'am Juvel. The Philippine Institute of Civil Engineers, or the BU Student Chapter. The Rise for Education, BU Raiso, SK Palanog, Kamalig, Albay. Bicol University Student Council, SK Sisigon, Pre-Law Society, SK Peñaranda, Forbes College BPA Department, BU Integral League of DOST Scholars, SK Mauyod, SK Buraguis, SK Dapdap BU Integrity Crusaders, and the 77 Duratiles Trading. The last but not the least, my gratitude to Sir Neil Hugo, the Department Chair of BPA, and his students who listened to a single student's sentiment. This activity was made possible. And here's me praying and hoping that we will be brave enough to resist corruption and be an agent of change. Once again, thank you so much for joining us, and God bless everyone.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Noims. To conclude our webinar, let us all sing, if able, the Bicol University hymn.
This is the school we wish to see. Nova School to honor and reveal. A temple built by man of firmness, a mold for you to walk with pride. For He will always be united, although we tread on distant paths. We all shall cherish what you've taught us, and to wholeheartedly gain forth. Bicol Universe.
Again, this has been Arian Liovit. Taus-puso po kaming nagpapasalamat sa inyong lahat. Happy lunch, everyone, and good day!
Leadership is not about titles. It is about impact, influence, and inspiration.